City Village celebrates with prophetic singing. Bonding with nature for Christmas. And China's Catholic faithful gather illegally to remember Christ.
This is National MTV News with Tulo.
A very good evening and welcome to Tuesday's news. The heavy downpour yesterday in Port Moresby did not dampen the festive spirit, with a village on the outskirts of the city celebrating in style. Vabukori village came alive with a friendly competition of prophetic singing which united villagers.
Despite the heavy downpour, Vabukori villages continued with fun-filled festivities. The singing of prophetic songs from the Bible. This event is celebrated annually on December 26. They split themselves into two groups, with a host group who sings while the other is responsible for catering. However, this year saw a change in celebrations.
But this year we decided to do a bit of change. Apparently this was an idea brought up by the village authority. We call them the Hanua. And they brought up this idea about the two groups to come in together and celebrate together and do their own cooking.
Prophetic singing is part of an important history of the village, brought in by early missionaries teaching them about the Word of God in the Bible.
They didn't have Bible, they didn't know how to read, they didn't know how to, so the only way to understand the Bible was through singing. And so the South Sea missionaries brought a lot of the Cook-Highlands and songs, prophet singing, and they converted the words of the Bible into singing through prophet singing. And so all these songs they're singing right now is from Genesis to Revelation. There's songs in them. Over the years, some are very old, some over the last, couple of years, people have composed them, but most of these are quite old.
This event is also a way of reviving songs and beliefs that are slowly fading away.
We go for two groups have a competition in string band. Like the other guy said, those two are dying slowly with the technology and globalization now. Our young people tend to go for it, computers and all this. So the whole idea about competition this time is to engage with the young people and learn those things.
This is part of the festive celebrations leading up to the new year. Merlin Diaukatam, National MTV News.
Still in Port Moresby, many residents celebrated Christmas in the city, while others decided to go outside the city for a peaceful Christmas engagement with the natural environment at Variarata National Park. They told MTV they wanted a relaxed Christmas around quiet surroundings.
Some residents has decided to spend a quiet Christmas engaging with the natural environment at Variarata Park. They told MTV that the environment enables them to appreciate Christmas in natural settings as they celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ.
Plenty time been you miss Tablo City, make him kind can work, sleep, get up, morning, work, this like and make him go, you miss skin die. So now, Christmas time, you may come celebrate me play it one day more friends from me come lawyer.
Paul says it is nice to get away from the city noise and listen to birds whistling and nature communicating. A young woman, Sheila Simon, says it's her first time up to Variarata Park and she is excited to see the amazing bird view towards the city.
As now Christmas too now. New player now pan new player 2017 so me basta laus go boring na now me am looking place. Na first time me to la come na now me come looking place around enjoying Christmas me na.
The city residents mainly goes to the park for picnic and recreational activities. Sawato Hahambu, National MTV News.
Every winter Sunday in the Chinese village of Yutong, hundreds of Catholic faithful brave sub-zero temperatures to meet in a makeshift tin-roofed church. Tucked away in a back alley in a rural area of Hebei, the province with China's biggest Catholic community, the gatherings are tolerated but are illegal in the eyes of the local authorities. But this didn't stop them from celebrating this Christmas.
These worshippers are among the millions of underground Catholics in China who reject the leadership of the state-sanctioned Chinese Catholic Patriotic Association, which proclaims itself independent of Rome. They are solely loyal to Pope Francis. The Vatican, though, is currently seeking better relations with Communist China, which is making some underground Catholics wary and concerned. Some are not ready to accept reconciliation with the Chinese government that has persecuted them for years. They now represent the biggest challenge to Francis' hopes of developing a long-lasting entente with Beijing, according to Catholic Church officials and scholars. Pei Rongui, an 81-year-old retired bishop who was recognized by the Vatican, spent 5 years in a labor camp after a 1989 government raid on an underground Catholic service in Yutong. Pei's congregation, together with an estimated 6 million underground Catholics, refused to join regular mass official churches run by the Chinese Catholic Patriotic Association. For China, improved relations could burnish its international image and soften criticism of its human rights record, political watchers say. For the Vatican, a thaw in relations with China offers the prospect of easing the plight of Christmas on the mainland, who for decades have been persecuted by the authorities. It may also ultimately pave the way to diplomatic relations, giving the Church full access to the world's most populous nation. But Cardinal Joseph Zen, the former Bishop of Hong Kong and the most senior Chinese Catholic cleric, believes any kind of agreement between the two sides would be very hard to swallow for many in the underground church.
To submit itself to the government, because that means you say they have been wrong for so long time, with all the sufferings caused by the situation of being underground. On the part of the Vatican, the goal of a dialogue is to have real religious freedom for our church in China. And the goal of the government is to have a complete control of that church. So these two goals are contradictory. So I don't see how they can reach a consensus at the end.
While both sides, underground and in the state-sanctioned community, wish for a positive outcome to the current talks, many, especially among the underground Catholics, remain skeptical that the talks will lead to any substantial improvement in their religious freedom. Meanwhile, hundreds of Chinese Catholics flocked to Christmas Eve Mass at a cathedral in Shanghai. China, which has around 25 million Christians, and the Vatican severed ties more than 50 years ago. Since then, the People's Republic of China has refused to submit the local Catholic Church to Vatican authority, and the Vatican has refused to recognize the PRC. Since taking office in March 2013, Pope Francis has vigorously supported talks aimed at rapprochement. A Catholic follower, Shang Shaoxing, believes rapprochement between two countries will benefit China's Catholic followers. Lorraine Gabina, MTV World News.
U.S. President Barack Obama and First Lady Michelle paid a Christmas Day visit to U.S. military personnel at a base in Hawaii and wished them a Merry Christmas while thanking them for their service. This is his last visit to the Pacific Island state during the Christmas holidays as the U.S. head of state. His term in office ends January 20 next year.
I know Michelle feels the same way when it comes to being able to stand alongside our military families and our veterans. Although this will be my last time addressing you as president, I want you to know that as a citizen, my gratitude will remain, and our commitment to standing by you every step of the way, that won't that won't stop. So thank you so much for everything that you've done.
In Aleppo, Christians gathered in the war-torn city to celebrate Christmas. Clerics led a mass at the St. Elias Cathedral in the old city amid the ruins left behind by the conflict. They prayed for peace during the first Christmas mass in years. Meanwhile, Turkey reported that some 44,000 people were evacuated from eastern Aleppo to Imbil. You're watching National MTV News. The day's other stories when we come back. Fighting in Garaina in the Morbe province drags into the second week, and children buried under rubble from a collapsed hillside. Stay tuned. Welcome back to National MTV News. BULOLO police have been restricted by funding delays and lack of adequate intelligence in quelling a tribal fight in the Garaina area that has dragged into the second week. The land dispute erupted into fighting, during which people were killed. Police have been unable to fly in because of the lack of funding after the closure of government accounts.
The information that has come to BULOLO police has been quite sketchy, but what they do know is at least 4 people have been killed. The fighting has been between the people of the Saiko and Hatwara villages of the Garaina area. It's a region that has had no police presence for quite some time. This afternoon, one of the victims of the violence, a young man in his 20s, was brought to the police station. It's understood he traveled for at least one day to get to BULOLO for medical attention. He was taken to hospital. The lack of information and the lack of cell phone coverage has made it quite difficult for information gathering. Police have been frustrated also by the lack of cooperation by the villagers. 2 weeks ago, a police team traveled to Garaina but made little progress over 1 week and had to withdraw.
The problem was that the suspects or the people involved, they already knew that the police would be going down, so they all escaped. So our guys went there and they stayed about a week. And because they can't do much, so they have to withdraw and they came back.
Because of the remoteness of this plan, how long information of Kisimol, our police are moving long. Seems like me police method that it's up all how about they want them all community long have how about moving by Kisimol suspect or someone.
BULOLO police have made one more fresh request, this time to the provincial administration for additional funding. What they need is money to hire a chopper to deploy a team of police officers into the Garaina area to quell the fighting and make arrests. Scott Waide, National MTV News, BULOLO.
4 children have been buried in an alluvial mining site in BULOLO after a hillside collapsed on top of them. The girl and 3 boys aged between 9 and 15 were at the site when the unstable hillside slid off and buried them. BULOLO Police Station Commander, Inspector Leo Kaikas, told MTV the information reached police yesterday and officers were deployed to the village a few kilometers outside of BULOLO town. The parents of the children had been looking for them for 2 days before they were found. Inspector Kaikas has also issued a warning for parents to keep their children away from alluvial mining sites, which are common within the mining town. As the new year approaches, SEPIK settlers in BULOLO who were displaced during ethnic clashes in 2010 are still waiting to be relocated. BULOLO District Authority CEO Tai Gwambalak says land is being surveyed for the relocation process. However, SEPIK leaders say the land marked for relocation has a mining lease and may cause problems later. Bethany Harriman reports from BULOLO.
This is the BULOLO library underneath Kas Anduwari and his family take shelter. They've been living here for 6 years after they were displaced during an ethnic clash. In the last 6 years, the displaced SEPIK settlers have been waiting for relocation. But Kas Anduwari and a few other SEPIK leaders say the process is slow and they've been kept out of the loop.
What is it that will benefit us have never been told to us. We've never had any open forum perhaps to tell us exactly. So we still kept in the dark since 2010 up till now.
Living under the library is difficult. Kas Anduwari, his wife, daughter and grandchildren all sleep under the building. They've built a small kitchen and tried to make their stay here more comfortable.
Very, very frustrating, and the youths have gone impatient. causing all sorts of little problems here and there, giving us committee the hard time to settle that.
BULOLO District Authority CEO Tai Gwambelek says surveying has been done to land earmarked for the displaced and it will be allocated accordingly.
Waiting approval application go long survey general lo endorsing display subdivision come now and then mipla by going to some form of agreement when temor man usat by mipla game and they will apply for it through the normal process lo application lo lands lo similar subdivisions. We were able to do that on the ground where EMI OSM established undeveloped lease areas plus state and in other words, ausfire line long before me play subdividing to make it more official.
SEPIK leaders are skeptical about the land earmarked for the relocation. The land is tied up to a mining lease and some of the hectares are also classified as government wasteland. The leaders say they may have problems later on and may be forced to leave the land again. Bethany Harriman, National EMTV News, BULOLO.
A two-lane bridge at Laloke outside Port Moresby along the Hiritano Highway is near completion. Workers from the Chinese Harbour Engineering Company are currently putting the final touches on the bridge prior to its opening in January. This project was funded under the Asian Development Bank Bridge Rehabilitation Program, which was rolled out in 14 provinces in the country. Erika Rupma with this report.
The new Laloke Bridge will be a lifeline to the people of Central and Gulf provinces who access services in Port Moresby. Beating all odds, workers of the Chinese Harbour Engineering Company have completed the structure before time and now down to doing final touches. According to Chinese Harbour Engineering workers, the bridge is expected to be opened by January. It takes almost a year to complete this infrastructure. In Central Province, there were a total of 9 similar bridge construction projects underway along the Iritano and Magi national highways. These bridges would have 2 lanes and with risk of accidents very high, road users are challenged to remember the road safety rules when using the road. These ADB-funded projects are underway in 5 provincial highways, the Magi and Iritano, New Britain, Ley Medeng and SEPIK. Erika Rupma, National EMTV News.
Pogera Joint Venture not only runs businesses but also has social obligations. Barrick New Guinea Limited, as operator of Pogera Gold Mine, has supported the week-long 2016 Christian Apostolic Fellowship National Women's Convention in Payam. This convention will assist the company to produce a conducive environment through promoting and supporting individual character development.
The Christian Apostolic Fellowship National Women's Convention held in Payam has ended on a high rate.
Pastor, all get a youth, all get a married leader, all get a Lopokra district, only put him here together one time, not a districts, Longenga province, because the national convention only put him on one time.
Over 3,000 women from all provinces attended the convention with the team, mining the hearts of women in the Word of God so that God's original purpose is birthed in our nation. The program included the main invited guest speaker Ruth Swift from Australia's Apostolic Church. CAF National Women's Federation President Angu Kikala commended the successful delivery of the convention.
Thank you. Me play PJV, me play stop yellow making business. But me play got social obligations. Me play like the program must be a conducive environment. Mining is the business opportunity is the people must have mass. What beginning must play. School good. But law and order problem. The attitude problem. Thank you because you got team to mining the heart. That's a central point. No human, no development attitude in Jello-Belly.
The convention was made possible with the support of Barrick New Guinea Limited with 5,000 kina and the Engen provincial government with 20,000 kina. Most of these funds of over 100,000 was raised through fundraising. Sawato Hambu, National EMTV News.
Provincial governments in the PNG LNG project have signed an agreement to exercise the Croton Equity Vendor Finance offer. The signing will see financing offered by Kumul Petroleum Holdings Limited for the 4.2% stake in the project. Southern Highlands, Hela, Central and Gulf provinces signed the agreement this afternoon in Port Moresby.
The agreement will see KPHL provide a vendor finance option for stakeholders in the PNG LNG project. The offer also gives an option to landowners or provincial governments to pull out of the deal if a better option arises. KPHL Managing Director Wapu Song made it clear that the agreement is a bridge so stakeholders can exercise the option before the deadline of 31st December.
What we are doing is to make sure that the option is exercised through Croton, through Kumu, and it is parked inside Kumu, so the exercise can be exercised. The option can be exercised and closed out.
Governors Francis Potape, William Powi Kilhauda and Avila Cavo inked the deal to make progress for the much-discussed 4.27 equity.
So what the provincial governments are doing is holding on to it so that all the smart ideas that you have and I have, we work it out together with them in the next 2-3 weeks. So we are now locking it down for the date not to slip by, for us to be within the legal means.
What we are doing is we are taking that ownership. Now ownership, time you arrange some financing in the next few months, maybe 3 months time, no one will bind you on this. You take off with your 19%.
Despite signing the agreement, there were questions raised by Helaland owners over the figures breakup. However, all these will be addressed in another forum to be organized by KPHL.
But other issues that are pending, our professionals, Tango team will sit together with the provincial government and also with affected landowners to actually relook at the figures and the calculations.
The governors specifically mentioned that all the steps taken are under the UBBSA signed in Kokopo in 2009. The governors believe the state offer is the best solution for all stakeholders in the PNG LNG project. Jack Lapave Jr. National MTV News.
When we return, stories making headlines overseas, including the Chibok schoolgirls captured by Boko Haram, and Pope Francis prays for victims of the Russian military plane crash. Welcome back to the news. The news abroad now, and some of the Chibok schoolgirls who were held in captivity for more than 2.5 years by Boko Haram are finally celebrating Christmas with their families. Nearly 300 girls were kidnapped in April 2014. Militants freed 21 of the girls after negotiations with the government. They spent 10 weeks in government care and were reunited with families and friends in Chibok.
After almost 2.5 years in Boko Haram captivity, at last it's time to go home. Having covered the Chibok girls' abduction from the very beginning, I'm going to make the long journey from Abuja to Chibok with them. You're going home. How are you feeling? Somebody tell me, what is the feeling in your heart right now? Happy. You're happy? For all the talk of excitement, some of these girls are also nervous.
Don't be nervous, don't be afraid, okay? You hold your faith, huh? You hold on to your faith, okay? Okay? The same faith that kept you all those months.
With the girls on the move, there are more smiles as they chat and giggle freely amongst themselves. Once we land in Yola, the girls are welcomed by some of the Chibok community leaders, as well as the governor of Adamawa State. The road to Chibok, too dangerous to travel after dark, the girls spend the night at a local hotel. Outside, a large security cordon is put in place. Inside, with their journey delayed, they gather in one room to do what they were unable to do while in Boko Haram captivity. I learned from Rebecca Malum and Glory Dammer they were singing local Christian hymns. While in captivity, their Christianity was not tolerated by the Boko Haram terrorists. What have you been doing since you were in Abuja?
In Abuja, we enjoy very grateful. We are grateful for them because they are protect good, they are doing good for us. And then When we are in Abuja, we are playing football. We have English class that we are learn how to speak in English and writing very well.
Bye. You guys look so different since I saw you in October. How are you feeling now from that time to now?
We are feeling beautiful because since we came, we...
You can tell me. You can tell me because you are beautiful. The next morning, a military convoy escorts the girls to Chibok, a place that holds the promise of long-awaited family reunions and memories of a fateful night. So the convoy has stopped in a town called Marabamubi, which is about an hour away from Chibok. The movement through these parts, such a well-armed convoy, is drawing attention from passers-by. As we enter Chibok town, locals wave excitedly, welcoming their girls home. The moment of reunion eventually arrives. The room almost vibrating with the sound of unbridled joy. But for some waiting parents, heartbreak. These women have come looking for their daughters who are still being held by Boko Haram. They'd thought their children were among the group who were coming home for Christmas. There has been such an outpouring of grief amid the joy, the piercing screams of mothers realizing that indeed they are not to be reunited with their daughters on this day, which has turned what should have been an overwhelmingly happy moment into a bittersweet one. For Rebecca and her father, the nightmare is over, and her father is overcome with feelings of gratitude. Given all they have endured, the mental and physical abuse at the hands of their captors, the years of painful separation from their loved ones, this reunion here in Chibok moves these fractured families and their community a step closer to wholeness. It really is something to behold, George, to see these girls reunited with their loved ones there in Chibok. Scenes that will stay with me for a very, very long time. Now, I should tell you that the plan is that they will be with their family members till early January and then make the journey back to the capital of Nigeria, Abuja, where they'll continue their rehabilitation and their journey towards full recovery.
Pope Francis has offered prayers for the victims of a Russian military plane crash in which 92 people lost their lives. Russia marked a national day of mourning yesterday, the day after the Syria-bound plane crashed into the Black Sea on Christmas Day, killing all the people on board.
The plane, a Russian defense military Tu-154, was carrying dozens of Red Army choir singers, dancers and orchestra members to Syria, where they were meant to entertain Russian troops in the run-up to the new year. 9 Russian reporters were also on board, as well as military servicemen and Elizaveta Glinka, a prominent member of President Vladimir Putin's Advisory Human Rights Council.
I express my deep condolences for the sad news of the Russian plane which crashed into the Black Sea. May the Lord console the beloved Russian people and the families of the passengers who were on board the plane, journalists, crew and the excellent chorus and orchestra of the armed forces. May the Blessed Virgin Mary sustain the search operations that are currently underway. In 2004, the choir performed at the Vatican for the 26th anniversary of St. John Paul II. Let us pray for them.
A minute of silence prayer was then led by the Pope. Pope Francis also paid tribute onto Middle East Christians who have clung to their faith during persecution by Islamist militants, saying there are more Christian martyrs now than in the Church's early days.
Today too the Church, to bear witness to light and the truth,
experiences harsh persecution in several places, up to the point of the supreme test of martyrdom. How many of our brothers and sisters in faith suffer abuse, violence, and are hated for Jesus' sake? Let me tell you something. The martyrs of today are greater in number than those of the first centuries.
He mentioned the persecution of Christians in Iraq, many of whom were able to spend their first Christmas since 2013 in churches after towns and cities were retaken from the Islamic State.
Today we want to think of those who suffer persecution and to be close to them with our affection, our prayer and our tears. On Christmas Day, the persecuted Christians in Iraq celebrated Christmas in their destroyed cathedral. This was an example of fidelity to the gospel.
Meanwhile, Russian Emergency Situations Ministry divers on yesterday found parts of the Tu-154 military plane that crashed into the Black Sea on Sunday, killing all 92 people on board. 2 pieces have already been lifted out of the sea. Major General Igor Konashevkov, a Defense Ministry spokesman, said on Monday that 11 bodies have been recovered so far and that a huge sea and air search operation involving around 3,500 people was being expanded. 39 ships, 5 helicopters, a drone, and more than 100 divers were involved, he said, and soldiers are scouring the Black Sea coastline as well. And while the search continues, flags were flown at half-mast yesterday as mourners placed flowers in Sochi, the Black Sea resort in southern Russia, where the plane crashed minutes after takeoff. In Moscow, people laid flowers and lit candles outside the headquarters of the Russian Army's Alexandrov Song and Dance Troupe, which lost at least 60 members in the crash. President Vladimir Putin was being kept informed of latest developments. Lorraine Gabina, EMTV World News.
Human error has been blamed for the Colombia air crash. Colombia's aviation authority released the results yesterday after their investigations. The report states that the pilot and the co-pilot knew there was not enough fuel and both had failed to report engine failures to control tower until it was too late. The jet crashed on a hillside, killing 71 people on board, including most of a football team from Brazil. The jet was also carrying 400 kilograms over its normal limit, a recipe for disaster. After the powerful typhoon called the Typhoon Nocten threatened the central Philippines, some 600 people in Argentina were also forced to evacuate their homes in and around the northern section of Buenos Aires province yesterday due to heavy flooding. 2 people are currently missing, according to media reports. The rains hit the towns of Pergamino, Ramallo and Arrecifes, among others. Nearby Cordoba and Santa Fe provinces were also reporting wet conditions. Many homes are without power and major roadways are blocked in the region, located some 300 kilometers from the city of Buenos Aires. You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. We will be back with the details after these messages.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. After successfully ending his first ever kickboxing tournament on Christmas Day, kickboxer Nelson Sampson is looking forward to another big event, hosting the Intercontinental belt title next year. Speaking to MTV Sports Today, Sampson said he is looking to host a tournament in Port Moresby where he will fight against Jeffrey Daka of Simbu, who has been the Intercontinental title champion since 2012.
Anam Kickboxing President Nelson Sampson is looking at hosting another boxing tournament next year. The Intercontinental event where he will go up against the 2012 belt title champion Jeffrey Daka from Simbu. Samson, who followed the code of kickboxing for the last 10 years, is still making strides in the ring to showcase his kickboxing talent. After forming his own association and training his students, Samson is looking at fighting in the Intercontinental belt title tournament next year around June, where he hopes to boost the level of the competition by bringing overseas fighters to PNG shores.
Mi baostim Intercontinental title belt. Usaid Olympic belt Jeffrey Daka belong Simbu. And I'm current older belong Disla. I'm Olympic since 2012. So I'm still Olympic title. So next fight by me try and fight on them Jeffrey Daka this title belt.
In the meantime, Samson will continue his campaign in promoting kickboxing while seeking financial assistance to help him make the Intercontinental belt title event possible.
Because this like me been stopped on them kickboxing code. I'm long blood time now. Me got this like kind hard. Me looking was kickboxing like knockout and blah boy only start to promote him. So me la step in about me taking kickboxing. Now hosting this tournament because me was a fighter. I mean like I'm also carrier blow me. So me but still hosting the tournament. No me must fight to go. Me supposed me win Jeffrey Daka. Pamil Tram look South Pacific title.
He says not only is he helping his club prepare for local tournaments, he is also helping fighters from other provinces for the love of kickboxing, as he strongly believes that there are more talented kickboxers yet to be exposed.
Kickboxing code itself long Papua New Guinea so now you can look at PNG Kickboxing Federation hosting one tournament or close to not like code. Look hosting the last kickboxing tournament and PNG Kickboxing Federation been hosting in 2012 Jiwaka. While the students were me plus set him up club and association and train him or only not have a fight.
Godwin Eki, National EMTV Sports.
2 Aussie rules and 28 under-17 AFL players from PNG, Fiji, Nauru, Tonga and Solomon Islands have been selected for the annual South Pacific Talent Camp program in Queensland from April 14th to May the 2nd next year. PNG has dominated the squad with 17 players scouted from the PNG AFL Academy program. To football, and president of the suspended Hekari Soccer Association and one-time PNG FA presidential candidate John Capinato said the suspension of football clubs will kill the sport in the country. Speaking at his home on the eve of the PNG FA General Congress, Capinato was surrounded by his supporters, including the presidents from Bougainville, Mendi, Manus and the Lay Football Association. Capinato is calling for all member associations who will be present at tomorrow's Congress not to be misled.
By nominated Mr. Capinato, so by supporting you long, make sure that election will come up, not change them come up. That's so long disappointment long how administration is working long he come now he suspend him 7 blah association. Now suppose you look and say this 7 blah association. For example LFA. For example Manus. For example Bougainville. I'm a very active soccer in Papua New Guinea. Why Baba Yimi suspend him all? Lo side long all Yimi look him. You look him Hagen, Simbu, Kimbe, New Britain palm oil. No one blast soccer come up with this blood. Wow. Now wow too. Me Harem was saying wow president I'm stable must be. Long time to do. So suppose you look him this blood according to FIFA. Administration and practicing discrimination, one-sided threat.
On a related note, President for PNG's biggest football body, the Lay Football Association, has clarified their stand on the suspension by the PNG Football Association. Andrew Nerik Mata took over as president of the LFA after the suspensions of previous executives Roy Kamen and Stanley Kana. Mata, along with General Secretary Haiveta Kivia, were present to show support for Hekari boss John Capinato.
Since Mr. Kamen is the only, or also the city manager of Lay City, and LFA had invited Mr. Kamen in his capacity as the city manager to be a guest at LFA, grand final. That was on the 3rd of December, on Saturday. So he was invited to my grand final to witness and made the presentation of trophies to the team as a city manager, and he's the boss of the city. That is why I have to invite him to the grand final.
We challenge the validity of PNGFA as an association incorporated. We challenge that. Our search with IPA has revealed that PNGFA has not complied with a lot of laws regarding the Incorporation Act. The only documents that PNGFA has with IPA is since 1980.
We'll be back with more of Trukai Sports after these messages. Stay tuned.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Athletics PNG key office bearers have been reinstated in their respective positions, with Tony Green as president, Gordon Kapak as vice president, and Philip Reda as secretary. They were given a resounding vote of confidence at the annual general meeting held in Leh earlier this month. All members were reappointed unopposed at the meeting, along with other senior committee members who expressed disappointment at the lack of funding from the government.
At the meeting, delegates expressed their disappointment at the total lack of government support for athletics in 2016. Despite the outstanding achievement at last year's Pacific Games, PNG won 22 of the 44 gold medals on offer in athletics, presenting 25% of all gold medals won by Team PNG. All funding was reportedly ceased immediately after the Games. This means a handful of talented athletes from rural areas have returned to their respective villages despite making good progress in the lead-up to the Games. President Tony Green says more needs to be done to develop talented PNG-based squad members. For example, Ida Sigao, who surprised everyone at the Games with a fantastic 7.32 meters long jump, but hasn't been seen since then. Green further stated that 2016 has been a difficult year for Athletics PNG, but it has worked hard to retain a good number of its top athletes in the code. Despite the setbacks, Green expressed confidence that through PNG's long-term and consistent programs, PNG will retain its position in 2017 as the #1 Pacific Island nation in athletics. Shane Soroya, National EMTV Sports.
To Rugby League, and the PNG Rugby Football League is the owner of the trademarks for jerseys and polo shirts containing the PNG Rugby Football League, Kumul's and Hunter's trademark logos. Chairman Sandis Chaka says that they own all its registered trademarks, which were registered in August. He said the PNG Rugby Football League is now the rightful custodian of these trademarks. Former NRL star Israel Folau has joined Warriors winger Manu Vatuvei in a campaign to stop suicide. The sports stars will speak on a ministry tour, Road to Redemption, about how their faith helped them to overcome private and public struggles. There will be an emphasis on the high rate of youth suicide in New Zealand. Both players have experienced the loss of close friends due to suicide and plan to tackle the issue with the help of former All Blacks Michael Jones and Eroni Clark, with entertainers Tofiga Fepuleai and Lapi Marana, who have also signed up. Folau said he hoped they could help at least one person during the tour. And that ends Trukai Sports. We'll have the weather details for the next 24 hours when we return.
Trukai Sports. Trukai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
A look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours in the southern region. Showers in Port Moresby, Daru and Kerma. Thundery showers and rain in Alotau and Popondetta. To the Momasa region, thundery showers in Leh and Wau. A few showers in Madang, mostly fine in Wewak and Vanimo. To the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine in Lorengau and Kavieng. A shower or two in Kokpo and Rabaul. Kimbe and Buka, showers over the next 24 hours. And in the Highlands region, Mount Hagen, Goroka, Kundiawa, Mendi and Wabeg, some rain over the next 24 hours with morning fog.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield, with doing with Dulux.
And that's how we end National EMTV News for tonight, the 27th of December 2016. 4 more days as we count down to the new year 2017. We leave you tonight with some prophetic singing from the Vabukori Peraveta groups. On behalf of the news team, pleasant viewing. Good night.